Have you ever wondered, in the silence of the night, when your heart beats a little louder and your thoughts won't let you sleep, whether God is truly real or just a story told by generations to give us hope? Imagine for a moment that the air around you grows heavy, not with fear, but with an unexplainable presence, as if something greater than yourself is standing right next to you. People across the world, from the crowded streets of New York to the quiet deserts of Arizona, from small towns in the Midwest to the buzzing life of Los Angeles, have experienced moments so powerful, so unshakable, that even the hardest skeptics found themselves whispering, "This has to be God." I want to take you into a journey tonight, not of myths, not of empty promises, but of miracles, true encounters and supernatural events that prove, without doubt, that God is real and closer than we think, waiting for us to open our eyes, our minds, and our hearts. There was a woman in Texas, diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, told by every doctor that she had only weeks to live. Her family gathered around her bed, praying through tears, and in the middle of the night she woke up, feeling a burning heat flow through her chest, a warmth so intense she thought she was on fire, but instead of pain, she felt peace. The next morning, the doctors ran their tests again and stood stunned. The cancer had vanished without explanation. Her scans showed a clean body, not a trace left behind, and medical experts could only shrug, saying, "We can't explain it." But she whispered with trembling lips, "God healed me." Across the ocean in New York, a man caught in a devastating car accident lay crushed between twisted metal. Paramedics declared he wouldn't make it, yet in his fading consciousness, he said he saw a tall figure in white light standing beside him, lifting him gently out of the wreck, as if the laws of gravity had no power. When the rescuers finally pulled him free hours later, not a single major bone was broken, not a drop of blood spilled beyond scratches, and he lived to tell everyone that an angel had saved him. And then there are those late-night visions, ordinary people falling asleep and finding themselves walking in gardens of gold, rivers clear as crystal, and a voice like thunder, yet soft as a whisper, telling them, "You are loved. You are not forgotten," waking up with tears on their pillow because they had seen heaven itself. Skeptics may laugh, but these dreams are shared by thousands across cultures, countries, and languages, repeating the same imagery no one could invent on their own. Picture a young boy in California, lost in depression, standing on a bridge ready to end it all. As he leaned forward, he heard a voice not from any human ear, but inside his very soul saying, "Stop, your life has purpose." He turned around, and at that very moment, a stranger walked up, touched his shoulder, and said, "I don't know why, but I felt I had to come here to tell you that you are not alone." Coincidence, or the undeniable hand of God weaving through human hearts? Imagine the thousands who faced storms, tornadoes, earthquakes, and fires, and while entire neighborhoods were destroyed, their houses stood untouched, as if an invisible shield had been placed around them. Insurance companies had no answers, but faith-filled hearts knew exactly what had happened. Soldiers on battlefields speak of bullets whizzing past, only to find later that a cross necklace in their pocket, a Bible pressed against their chest, had stopped the shot that should have killed them. Mothers have cried out prayers for missing children, and within hours, police discovered them unharmed in impossible circumstances, as if angels guided their steps. Scientists may try to dissect it, psychologists may try to rationalize it, but when someone blind from birth suddenly opens their eyes and sees, when someone deaf suddenly hears without surgery, when barren women hold babies in their arms after years of hopelessness, logic bows its head in silence, because miracles break the limits of human reasoning. And these are not just old stories written in dusty books. These are testimonies happening today, this very moment, to people like you and me. Ordinary people touched by extraordinary power. What if I told you that even in hospitals across the USA, nurses and doctors, people trained to trust only science, whisper to each other about rooms glowing with light during a patient's prayer, about machines suddenly stabilizing when families cried out to heaven, about patients marked "no chance," walking out fully healed? What if I told you that somewhere right now, a grandmother kneels on her floor in Alabama praying for her grandson who lies in a coma hundreds of miles away, and in that exact instant, he opens his eyes, calling her name, saying he saw her kneeling and a bright light standing behind her? These are not coincidences, my friend. These are fingerprints of God across time and space, etched into our stories, carved into our lives. Have you ever experienced goosebumps without knowing why? Chills down your spine when someone prayed for you? Or tears you couldn't hold back in a church, a temple, or even in your bedroom when you whispered to the ceiling, "God, are you real?" And somehow you felt that he answered.
That's not imagination, that's not delusion, that's the divine intersecting with the human, the eternal touching the temporary. Tonight, I want you to walk with me through countless stories that will shake you, inspire you, and remind you that you are not alone, that the creator of the universe still works, still speaks, still loves, and still saves. Because when the storms rage, when the doctors give up, when the bank account empties, when the depression grows darker, when the silence feels unbearable, there is always a God who breaks through with light, with miracles, with love, with undeniable proof that he is real. And as you hear these encounters, as you let these testimonies wash over you, maybe, just maybe, you'll find that the miracle you've been waiting for is closer than you ever dreamed. But maybe you are still wondering. Maybe there's a voice in your head saying, all of this sounds emotional. All of this sounds like people just telling stories. But where is the undeniable proof? So let me take you deeper into moments so raw, so impossible to fake, that even cameras have captured what no one could explain. In a small church in Florida, worshipers lifted their hands and suddenly beams of light appeared in the room, visible not only to their eyes, but caught on multiple video recordings. Yet when technicians tried to trace the source, there was no lamp, no spotlight, no physical explanation, only this radiant glow hovering above the congregation. And people fell on their knees crying, God is here. In another part of the world, missionaries shared about water turning pure and drinkable when they prayed over a contaminated well that had poisoned children for years. Scientists tested it afterward and declared it clean, yet could not figure out how, in a matter of minutes, bacteria levels that normally require months of treatment had dropped to 0. And then there are encounters so intimate they break even the hardest hearts. A hardened atheist in Chicago, a man who had mocked religion his whole life, was diagnosed with a heart condition and given no chance of survival. One night, lying in the hospital bed, he saw a figure standing beside him, glowing brighter than the room's lights. And that figure placed a hand on his chest and said, I am with you. The next morning, his heartbeat stabilized for the first time in months. Doctors said it was impossible, yet his scans showed complete recovery. That man walked out of the hospital not only healed, but transformed, telling everyone he met, I once denied him, but now I know God is real. Think about the countless people who have died and come back. Near-death experiences where their heart stopped for minutes, sometimes hours, and yet they return describing the same visions. A tunnel of light, a sense of overwhelming peace, voices calling them home, and sometimes Jesus himself welcoming them before saying, it's not your time. These stories repeat in hospitals everywhere, from the suburbs of Dallas to the clinics of California, from the icy towns of Minnesota to the crowded streets of New York, and the details are so consistent across cultures that it becomes impossible to dismiss them as imagination. And then there are supernatural protections, so undeniable that even skeptics admit something greater was at work. One woman driving late at night in Nevada fell asleep at the wheel, her car spinning toward the edge of a cliff. Just as it reached the edge, she swears she felt invisible hands grip the steering wheel, pulling it back onto the road. When police arrived, they found no explanation for how the car had straightened, but she insisted an angel had taken control. In homes, people have seen shadows of despair vanish when they whispered a simple prayer. In prisons, hardened criminals have broken down in tears, claiming they felt chains on their souls snap the moment someone prayed for them. These are not coincidences. They are patterns, repeated miracles that tell us God is alive and working. And let's not forget about the modern day signs. How often do you scroll on social media and see testimonies of people healed, protected, or transformed by faith? From viral videos of paralyzed men walking after prayer to interviews with survivors of disaster saying, I don't know how, but something saved me. The stories keep pouring in, echoing louder and louder across the world. Skeptics may say, it's just luck. It's just science we don't yet understand. But how many times must the impossible happen before we call it what it really is? A miracle. And if you were listening to this right now, maybe you are not here by accident. Maybe the reason you clicked, the reason you stayed is because deep inside your soul, there is a hunger, a longing to know the truth, a desire to encounter God for yourself. What if I told you that the same God who split seas, who raised the dead, who healed the blind, who fed thousands with a few loaves of bread, is the same God who wants to show you his power today? Message for you to realize that the greatest proof of God is not in arguments, not in logic,
but in experience. What if your miracle is about to happen? Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Look at the world around you. Millions are testifying. I once was blind, but now I see. I once was lost, but now I'm found. And their voices join into a chorus declaring louder than ever, God is real. Maybe you've searched in science, in philosophy, in success, in relationships, and still felt empty. But let me tell you, nothing fills that emptiness like His presence. Nothing heals like His love. Nothing proves His reality more than the moment you encounter Him yourself. And here's the truth. The same God who parted seas, who raised Lazarus from the dead, who stood with Daniel in the lion's den, who walked with 3 men in the fiery furnace, who turned Saul the persecutor into Paul the apostle, is alive right now, and His miracles have not stopped. Proof surrounds us in the skies painted with sunsets no artist can match, in the heartbeat that never stops ticking, in the galaxies spinning with precision, in the breath you just took as you read these words. Everything screams of His reality. So what will you do? Will you dismiss it all as chance, as luck, as coincidence? Or will you open your heart just a little to the possibility that every miracle, every vision, every supernatural encounter is heaven knocking on your door? Because maybe tonight is not about someone else's testimony. Maybe it's about yours. Maybe you are about to be the next story, the next living proof that God is real. And when it happens, when you feel that peace, when you see that breakthrough, when you witness that healing, remember this moment. Remember this message, because the truth is undeniable. God is real. God is here, and God is for you.